Let me ask you something. Why does the word feminism make some people sit up in pride and others flinch in discomfort? Why does it trigger so many emotions without anyone even agreeing on what it means? Is it a battle cry, a dirty word, a phase, a privilege, or a revolution? Or maybe it's just a mirror that forces us to see things we've been trained to ignore. Like who gets to speak, who gets to lead, who gets to rest, who gets to say no and still be safe. Because feminism isn't just about women, it's about power. And power is never given freely. Today, we are going beyond slogans and sound bites. We are unpacking the layers of history, resistance, backlash, and hope. We are talking about feminism not as a buzzword, but as a map for liberation. From South Korea's 4B movement to Dalit feminist voices in India, from the suffragists to social media warriors, this episode is about where feminism came from, how it's evolving, and why it still matters. Deeply, urgently, universally. This is the personal lens where we explore the political through the personal, and this is the truth about feminism that no one taught us in school. Why is it that one word, just one word, can make people so uncomfortable? Feminism. Some spit it out like an accusation, others whisper it like a confession, and yet, for millions across the world, feminism is a lifeline, a lens, a fight, a future. Welcome to the Personal Lens, where we explore the political through the personal. I'm your host, and today we are unpacking that big, messy, powerful F word, feminism. Let's start with what's obvious. What is feminism? No, really, what is it? Because the way it's been twisted, diluted, demonized, and commodified, you think it's everything from a man hating cult to a fashion trend. But strip away the noise, and what do you have? Feminism is the belief in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. That's it, equality. Not female supremacy, not a power swap, not revenge. So, how did this simple idea become so radical and so misunderstood? Let's dive deep. The history of feminism is usually taught in waves. But remember, this wave metaphor is largely Western and linear. Feminism outside the West has often followed different trajectories, intersecting with colonialism, race, caste, and class in ways the mainstream narrative lives out. The first wave, the fight for legal identity. The first wave, emerging in the 19th and early 20th centuries, focused primarily on legal rights, especially women's suffrage. Think Mary Wollstonecraft in Britain, Sojourner Truth in the US, Pandita Ramabai in India. Women were saying, we are not property, we are people. In India, the movement was tightly woven with anti-colonial resistance. Social reformers like Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain, Savitribai Phule, and Tarabai Shinde were already challenging patriarchy in ways that also questioned Brahmanism, colonialism, and caste hierarchies. Now, the second wave, the personal is political. This wave took off post World War II, reaching full momentum in the 1960s and 80s. It was about much more than voting rights. It tackled sexuality, reproductive rights, domestic labor, and workplace discrimination. Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex in 1949 declared, one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. In India, the 1970s marked a turning point. Feminist collectives began to form in response to state apathy and police brutality, most famously after the 1972 Mathura rape case, which exposed institutional complicity in gendered violence. Now, the third wave, intersectionality, enters the chat. By the 1990s, many feminists, especially Black, Dalit, queer, and indigenous feminists, were asking, whose feminism are we talking about? If your feminism doesn't include race, caste, sexuality, class, or disability, it's not feminism for all. This wave brought in intersectionality, a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, to highlight how systems of oppression interlock. Dalit feminists in India like Cynthia Stephen and Ruth Manorama were questioning Brahminical feminism that excluded caste realities. Now the fourth wave, We can also call it the hashtag revolution. So we are in the fourth wave now, marked by digital activism, online movements like Me Too, Time's Up, Pinjara Tor, Bekhauf Azadi, and more. But while the internet amplifies feminist voices, it also exposes them to relentless backlash, trolling, and violence. In Assam, for instance, questions around land rights, Bihu traditions, tea plantation labor, and ethnic identity intersect with feminist concerns in powerful ways. Now, some common myths about feminism and why they are wrong. Let's debunk some persistent myths. Feminists hate men. False. Feminism is anti patriarchy, not anti men. Patriarchy hurts men too, forcing them into roles of stoicism, aggression, and emotional suppression. Secondly, we don't need feminism anymore. Really? When women still earn less for the same work, when marital rape is still not a crime in many countries, including India, and when trans people face systemic erasure, yes, we still need feminism. Then feminism is only for women. Wrong. Feminism is for everyone who believes in dismantling systems of inequality. That includes men, non binary people, and everyone in between. It's a Western concept. Absolutely not. Think of Mahashweta Devi, Bama Faustina, or Kamala Bhasin. Feminist thought has existed in the global south in different, rooted, and radical forms long before it had a label. Feminism in practice. Now, some everyday acts of resistance. So, what does feminism look like beyond books and protests? A father teaching his son to cook. A teacher refusing to shame a student for her skirt length. A woman walking home at night, headphones in, fearlessly. A queer person demanding to be called by the right pronouns. A domestic worker fighting for paid leave. It's also in policy changes. Think of India's POSH Act 2013 on workplace harassment or the Justice Verma Committee after the Nirbhaya case. Or in the demand to criminalize marital rape, which still faces judicial resistance. But the fight isn't just legal, it's also cultural. Not all feminism is created equal. When feminism ignores caste, race, and class, it becomes exclusionary. You cannot talk about women's empowerment in India without addressing caste-based violence and discrimination. So we all need feminism that's rooted in intersectionality. And that means recognizing that a disabled queer Dalit woman faces oppression differently from an upper caste cisgender urban woman. It means centering voices from the margins, not just including them, but following them. Intersectional feminism acknowledges that gender is never experienced in isolation. It is shaped by caste, class, religion, sexuality, and also geography. The global feminist fire or the 4B movement in South Korea. Let's zoom out for a moment. From India to South Korea, where one of the most radical and eye-opening feminist movements of the 21st century is unfolding. It's called the 4B movement, short for Four Nose feminism. In Korea, it's referred to as Bihon, Biholsan, Bioni, Bihisekso, meaning no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no heterosexual sex. Now, at first glance, that may sound extreme, but let's pause and understand the why behind the what. South Korea has one of the highest gender inequality rates among OECD countries. Despite being a technologically advanced society, women in Korea face staggering barriers, wage gaps, beauty norms, misogyny in politics, and a near total lack of reproductive autonomy. And then there's the spy cam epidemic where women have been secretly filmed in public bathrooms, changing rooms, and even homes with videos uploaded online. The government's slow response triggered nationwide protests under the slogan, "My life is not your porn." Out of this climate of rage and resistance came the 4B movement as a form of radical symbolic withdrawal from a society that treats women as tools for reproduction, beauty, and servitude. The women of 4B are not saying all marriage or heterosexuality is inherently oppressive. They are saying until society changes, we refuse to participate in systems designed to exploit us. It's a bold form of refusal feminism, of opting out, rather than constantly trying to reform from within. And here's what's incredible, it's spreading. Young women in their 20s and 30s are saying no to traditional scripts. South Korea now has one of the world's lowest birth rates, not because women are selfish, but because they are tired of a system that demands everything and gives nothing back. Even more radical, many 4B feminists choose to remain anonymous, not because they are ashamed, but because being openly feminist in South Korea can get you harassed, doxxed, fired, or worse. So they fight from the shadows in solidarity. In a world where women are still expected to have it all, the 4B movement is a reminder that sometimes the most revolutionary act is saying, I don't want what you're selling. When we talk about feminism, we cannot ignore one of the most contested battlegrounds of our time, the right to control one's own body. In the US, the pro-choice movement has been at the heart of feminist struggles for decades, fighting for access to safe abortions, contraception, and reproductive health care. The recent overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2022, a ruling that once guaranteed constitutional protection for abortion rights, was not just a legal decision. It was a stark reminder of how fragile women's rights can be when bodily autonomy is treated as negotiable. The pro-choice movement in the US is not only about healthcare, it's about dignity, freedom, and equality. Because when you deny someone the right to decide about their own body, you deny them full citizenship. We'll return to this deeply urgent issue in a later episode when we talk in detail about bodily autonomy, how it's regulated, politicized, and why it remains one of the most critical frontiers of gender justice. Feminism doesn't look the same everywhere. In South Korea, it might mean refusing marriage. In Assam, it might mean reclaiming ancestral land. In US, it might mean reproductive rights. But at its core, it's always about this: agency, autonomy, and the audacity to dream of a life where you're not just surviving but living on your own terms. Feminism is necessary, not because it has all the answers, but because it's brave enough to ask the hardest questions about power, about privilege, about justice. So the next time someone says, I'm not a feminist, but ask them why, and maybe, just maybe, we can reclaim the word, not as a label, but as a living, breathing fight. Feminism isn't just a theory in a classroom or a hashtag on a screen. It's a question we keep asking, sometimes loudly in protest, sometimes silently in survival. It's in the way a woman straightens her back in a room that wasn't built for her. It's in the refusal to laugh at the sexist joke, in the tired eyes of the mother who works a double shift and still gets judged for not packing the right lunch. It's in the queer teenager choosing truth over fear, in the Dalit woman daring to speak when society insists she stay silent. And sometimes it's just in the act of continuing to live, to fight, to imagine more. Feminism doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be persistent. Because every time someone says, why does it matter anymore? Aren't we equal now? Isn't this going too far? The truth is, equality isn't here yet. Women still earn less, carry more unpaid labor, face violence in their homes and on the streets, and are judged more harshly for simply existing. A woman somewhere is still dying because her autonomy was denied. A girl is still being told she talks too loud, dreams too big, takes up too much space. A trans person is still being misgendered, erased, criminalized. These are not isolated cracks in the system. They are the system. So no, we are not done. Feminism is not a relic of the past. It's the future knocking on our doors, asking if we are brave enough to answer. And that's why feminism is not optional. It's not over. It's the ongoing fight to rewrite the rules of power, dignity, and justice so that every person, regardless of gender, can live fully, freely, and equally. And until that day comes, feminism remains not just relevant but necessary. Thank you so much for listening to The Personal Lens. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share for more. Leave your thoughts and comments at the email provided in the description. And until next time, ask the uncomfortable questions, listen to the silenced voices, and remember, the personal is always political.